So yeah, this is
Nice.
an experiment for all of us here. We have the first time with four people. We're doing four different lists. And yeah, I think this is probably like the sixth scores and soundtracks
I
episode we've
mean,
done. Fifth.
you
Jesus
keep track
Christ.
of it better because of all the Roman numerals you mark the
Yeah.
episodes with.
Yeah, I labeled each episode, so I'll have to go back and check. But yeah, I think it's fifth or sixth.
But they've all been us, just us, like
Yeah,
alone,
yeah.
going like, this is another score or soundtrack. Like
A little of both. Yeah.
this is a score, but I think it's also a soundtrack
Also a
too.
soundtrack. That's the catchphrase pretty much.
I mean, there's got to be like infinite amount of like good scores and soundtracks. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every good movie has a good soundtrack or score, basically.
Mhm. Even
I
if there's
would
just
say.
one
Yeah.
song, even just one
Yeah, I
song,
mean, if there's
one main theme.
Well, and we've never done it based off like this is the best like five. It was always like more personal. It's always been more personal than that. So when I was explaining our guests the rules via text, I said there aren't really any rules because we've never done it that way. We never said like these are the best. So that's why it's been such a good ongoing thing. There's no like finality to it, you know? Like
You guys just
so we could just do
ramble.
this. We could do this series forever, and it's cool now that we have guests on. And well, Jake's not a guest anymore, but
I'm the franchise now.
Jake, you can finally be here for scores and soundtracks, and I yeah, yeah, applause for that. And
I'll put it in applause.
I've also wanted, and yeah, I mean, you're gonna be editing it, so you have control over
I got
those
all
sort
the
of things.
all
But
the graphics, yeah.
yeah, well, and also we put the songs usually sometimes in the podcast so that we talk
Oh,
about.
hell yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
John
That's
has done
sick.
that in the past, so keep that in mind. Put
Yeah.
that on your to-do list.
Exactly.
But also, I've wanted to have Antonio on a scores and soundtracks episode for months now, so it's great to have you on as well. And you just seem like a good scores and soundtracks guy. Like they would say in Adventureland, Kristen Wiig and Bill Hader would be like to Jesse Eisenberg. They'd be like, you know, you're a little more gamey. You're a bit
He's
of
the
a game
game.
guy. That's how. Yeah, that's how I
No,
feel
you're a
about.
game guy.
Yeah, that's how I feel about you guys, with all of us, with scores and soundtracks today.
It's an
Yeah.
honor.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so-
know Luke's been wanting Antonio on for a while, so yeah, it's good to have him here. And yeah, for those of you who missed Antonio on our Inherent Vice episode, you should go back and listen to that one too. Which has
Yeah.
a good soundtrack too. I don't know if we'll hear that
Yeah.
today or not. I don't want
Yeah,
to spoil anything.
and score. Don't forget Johnny Greenwood.
Oh, but
does a
also
little
the score. Yeah,
It's a great score.
and soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah.
Slash soundtrack.
Yeah, it's a very musical episode. The
Yeah,
Inherent Vice
I
one.
was thinking of, some of the films, and I was like, well, we already talked about Inherent Vice, so that's
Yeah,
good. That
exactly.
can cross that off.
Yeah, cross it off. Otherwise, we'd call you out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also we could put a disclaimer that Luke or I may bring up one that we've already done in an episode before, because I don't remember pretty much anything that I've brought up before for any of these past scores and soundtracks episodes we've done. So I think these are all new, but yeah, there's very well could be some crossover. But
if not, you could
It is
talk
what it
about it
is.
again.
We're gonna
It'll
talk
be
about it
great.
again. Well, yeah, should we get started? So
Yeah, let's just get into it.
Yes,
We start
indeed.
from number 5. Jake or Antonio, one of you
Here,
can decide to go
well-
first or flip a coin.
yeah, and since Antonio's our guest, he can decide which order he goes in. So he can go first,
Well, I
first,
didn't
second,
really...
third, or fourth.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, just out of the four of us.
Refuse to talk. I'll go first, I guess.
All right.
I have a note up already. I didn't really rank mine like as far as like best or anything. Like 5 isn't like the least favorite or anything, but just
Same with
like,
me. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, mostly scores that I thought were like they had a different approach, each one of them, as they're not like they weren't made traditionally, like you know, each one has a story behind it. So I tried to pick like albums that I like listened to a lot, and that kind of maybe have some like interesting trivia about them.
Cool.
So the first
Wow.
one, yeah, the first one I picked was Streets of Fire
I got a dream about an angel on the beach of the perfect with the sun and the club.
by the great Walter Hill. Have you guys seen that film?
Always wanted
I-
to.
I have not.
I have not.
Oh
Yeah.
wow, none of us. Huh?
Yeah.
So it's probably Walter Hill's like least referenced film, I would say. It's like it was a major like bomb at the box office, but the soundtrack was like a huge success. I even like afterwards I was like, I need a cassette of this soundtrack like from the 80s because it's just that awesome. So Streets of Fire is kind of this weird action film. Like I think he made it right after the Warriors, so it's got this weird sort of alternate world. It takes place in like this world where it's like the 80s, but there's all these 50s cars and it's really dingy and grimy and like neon.
I love
and-
80s soundtracks,
Mhm.
especially the action ones. And this sounds like a trippy, is it like trippy synthy?
Actually, no. So it's mostly like pop songs. It's very
Oh.
like musical, like rock ballads. So it's like a rock and roll movie.
Okay.
Like
okay.
everybody's cool and
Right.
you know, it's centered around this singer who's like the biggest singer of like all time. Diane Lane plays her, and then she gets kidnapped by Willem Dafoe, and her like old lover has to go like traverse the city to bring her back. And Dafoe's like a biker gang dude, and so it just opens
Nice.
with like this great song, and it's just like
Yeah.
he just plays these songs on a stage. It's like almost like you're at a concert. And like the opening scene, like if nobody watches this movie, because I mean, some people could debate it's not a great movie, but the first opening scene, like the way it's cut and the soundtrack, it's just like so awesome.
Nice.
And the music was like produced by Jimmy Irvine. He was a major producer for like Dr. Dre and like a bunch of singers and stuff. So
yeah. He's one
Oh,
of the
wow.
biggest.
yeah.
Yeah, Jimmy Irvine. Yeah.
So they really spent like a lot of effort trying to make this movie, like the soundtrack particularly, like a huge thing.
Yeah, this is something
Um,
I would definitely watch. So
Yeah, you
Nice,
should
yeah.
watch it. Yeah, and so yeah, I definitely check it out. And I will say they also did a version of Sorcerer on there by Stevie Nicks. And like I'm a huge Stevie Nicks fan, but I like the version that they did on this soundtrack like more actually.
Dang, wow.
The one we know. Sing the song tonight, you're singing. Stevie Nicks.
yeah.
She's
Did you
doused.
buy the cassette?
Yeah, I got the cassette.
There you go.
Nice.
Damn. I heard people say it's like a rock and roll sort of action movie, is what they always describe it as, right? Like a
Yeah, it's almost like a musical.
musical, yeah.
But it's all because it's based around like musicians and stuff. And like not all the songs are rock and roll. There's like some music in there that I don't normally listen to, kind of like almost like rockabilly type stuff on the soundtrack. And like pop ballads and yeah, but it's great.
Nice.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's definitely going on my my watch list now. Jake, do you wanna go next?
Sure do. You know, I'll stick with the 80s theme actually, because that kind of inspired me to pick one of my favorite musicians of all time is Tangerine Dream, and it was pretty rare when, you know, they would compose something for film at the time, and I gotta pick Thief, I guess, for that one. Just
Sweet.
kind of building off what Antonio said, like that sort of that undertone of like the neon drenched city of Chicago. Because the way Michael Mann shoots that movie is just so unique. And that's a movie where the soundtrack becomes like a character in the film itself. Like not only paired with the heist sequences and the action scenes, but sort of the character moments, like the alienation of James Caan in that movie. There's that really melancholic sort of electronic music. I don't know. I think it's just one of the best scores Michael Mann's ever had in his movies. I think his movies are kind of underrated in terms of music. And I think Thief best displays sort of that marriage of Michael Mann's vision, sort of his visual style, and that sort of that very synthy, just atmospheric music. And yeah, ever since I saw Thief, like Antonio said, I need to own that on vinyl, cassette, every physical media version possible. And it's just a damn good score. A great movie.
Yeah. I think we were saying earlier that all good movies have a good soundtrack, but with Tangerine Dream, I think if Tangerine Dream is a part of the soundtrack, that's going to be a good movie no matter what. Yeah.
Absolutely.
That last scene with James Caan, the song in it, like when I first saw the movie, I was listening to that song for weeks afterwards.
Yeah, it's called like Confrontation. It's like that really, those guitar riffs are so memorable, and just it just sticks in my head every time I think of a film score. It's like kind of, especially in the crime genre, for it to really really stick out that way and kind of elevate the material just so well.
Yeah. Also, that scene when they're at like that music club, and I forget his name. He's playing the song Turning Point.
Yeah.
And I love that scene.
Incredible scene.
Yeah. So that even the non-Tangerine Dream music is great in that too. Yeah.
Definitely.
I think the great thing about like Tangerine Dream is you can just like listen to them whenever, and like you can be doing other stuff, or you can just, put on headphones and like close your eyes, and it's just amazing, like beautiful music.
Yeah, it seeps into like everyday life, and that's kind of like in that movie, it just feels so a part of it, like it wouldn't exist without it. It's like it's built into the movie, and that's when I always think a score is working well.
I'll go. I'm
All
trying
right.
to think of which one I'm going to follow it up for. Honestly, most of mine are soundtracks. Yeah, almost all of them. All right, I'll start with a movie I watched this morning. The first thing would be the soundtrack of 5 Easy Pieces. Which was like not a movie I remembered for its music. I more so remembered for its like gritty feel and Jack Nicholson's performance, and just, man, it's a dark movie. It's a rough movie to start the day with, because it has such a, like, Jack Nicholson's character is so tragic, and the film has such a tough outlook that it is such a bummer of a movie to start the day with, but it's really damn good. The music in this movie is like, it's actually a very quiet movie, but the fact that Jack Nicholson is like a former, like, I don't know, pianist and somewhat of a like great pianist in it plays a big part. So like whenever like music does come into 5 Easy Pieces, it really hits home. It's mostly like there's some folk songs on this soundtrack that are, what you would expect from a 70s movie. Think Easy Rider or a Hal Ashby movie. But like when every time Jack Nicholson plays some piano piece, it's just really beautiful and sticks in your head and speaks to the theme of the movie. There's specifically a scene where he's stuck in traffic after working on an oil rig, and he just gets out and starts yelling at everyone in the street. And
amazing
it's crazy. And then he gets on the truck that is in front of his car, and there's a piano in there, and he just starts playing it like a maniac, but also really well. And then the truck is like, traffic starts to move, and then the truck is like getting off. He's like, and his friend is like, he's getting off the highway, and Jack's just still playing. It's just oh, it was the funniest scene, but it's just so great too. And yeah, that image of Jack playing the piano is currently one of the movie images I'm most high on. And there's also a scene where like there's the sequence in Five Easy Pieces where Jack goes home and to see his father who is sick. He kind of everyone's asking him there. They're like, why don't you play music anymore? And I don't know. I guess I forget his reasoning, but either way, he plays this piece called Chopin Prelude in E minor, and it's like what the movie it kind of ends with. It's kind of almost the theme of the movie. That's like a haunting just piano piece. It's kind of like, I don't know, the piano piece of The Conversation, how it really sticks out at you. So yeah, I mean, Five Easy Pieces mainly for Jack as being a musician, it would be why like it stands out to me most of all, and just thought it was worth bringing up.
It's a surprise. I wasn't expecting that.
I really want to rewatch that movie now.
It's a good ass movie.
Mhm.
Yeah. I mainly needed to compile soundtracks together for today. So I watched it and I threw it in the mix, but I think I gave enough reasoning for why it should be in some top 5. So today it's
that's like an iconic
in my top
scene.
5. Yeah.
The highway, yeah, that's incredible scene.
Yeah, John, you've seen it, right?
I have not. No,
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
but
Yeah,
I will now.
get to that.
But
So my number 5, I'm going a little more classic route for this one, but it's Charade. The Stanley Donen movie, Henry Mancini's score, and this one is all score, no soundtrack. So this may be my only pure score on here, but
wow.
yeah, Charade. I really love this
You
movie.
went the same
and,
route as me.
Yeah. And yeah, it's definitely known as sort of a Hitchcockian type of film, and it starts out very similar to other Hitchcock movies. One, because there's a Saul Bass opening credit sequence, and along with that is the great score from Henry Mancini, where the main theme, it starts out with this great percussion that's like da, 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 and then this mysterious guitar riff that goes over it. It really sets up the sort of the mystery of the movie. Really great, and the rest of it too is just solid all the way through. It's set in Paris, so there's good Parisian flavor to it too. And it's I just feel like it's a good classic solid score. And I wanted to start out with this one because it's definitely the simplest of the rest of them on my list. So Charade. Don't have too much else to say, but it's my number 5.
Remember
I
that
like Stanley Donen stuff.
Yeah.
And aren't they they're associated with music a lot?
Yeah, Stanley Donen did like Singing in the Rain.
Yeah, he co-directed that,
And-
so he's
Yeah.
With
on the
Gene Kelly,
town.
yeah.
Yeah,
On
he's
the Town,
somewhat
yeah.
associated
He's
with
good with
music.
music.
Oh, okay.
you
So
could
I've seen On
say.
the Town. All right.
He did On the
How-
Town. Probably
Okay.
more. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like Stanley Donen tries to make his version of a Hitchcock movie. So yeah,
Mhm.
it's
Oh, and is it a musical?
no,
That'd be
It's just-
crazy.
no.
A Hitchcock musical.
Oh, that would be
That's
great.
an
That'd be.
idea.
Yeah.
I
That'd
would
be.
love it
Oh,
if
yeah.
Psycho
Someone's
was
got to
musical.
do that.
Yeah.
A psycho
Where,
musical.
There's like a dance number.
Wow. We're really onto something here. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Yeah.
Fix
It's not a
fix
musical,
the
but
movie.
but it has great music in it. So
I always remember that scene on the roof when they're having that sort of scuffle,
mm,
and that it's really striking. Like the set design, I remember it's like really Hitchcockian, but it's like that Technicolor feel too. So it feels very Hollywoodized, and yeah, the score is amazing too. It's like there's like a big sense of urgency in that movie. Always, it's always moving. It's so well.
It
paced.
is. Yeah. It's definitely always on the move, and it's moving fast, which is just what the score does too. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've talked about On the Town on the podcast, like watched it for a Bender episode. So we're no strangers to Stanley
Stanley
Donen. here.
Donen.
Yeah.
Stanley
This is
Donen.
a bit different than On the Town and Singing in the Rain, but yeah.
Yeah,
He's
I
still
assume.
he knows good music though, you know. All right, well, Antonio, you are
Back to the
you're
start.
up.
Okay.
Number one.
Yeah. Well, actually, I'll just get this one out of the way since this might. For all you video users, I'm wearing the Shining shirt, so that's the score that I want to talk about next. So like Stanley Kubrick's scores are just all just amazing. But I
Yeah.
think it was hard to choose just one, but I think really with The Shining.
So I chose 4.
Yeah, no. But with The Shining, it's like that adds such an element of like terror to the movie. Like I've
Yeah,
seen that movie
That's what
countless times.
surrounds you in the movie. That's what makes all of it get into your skin.
Right. And especially like in a theater, it's just like with a big sound system, those
Yeah.
drums, and when it kicks in. Wendy Carlos did the score, and I was reading that, so she had done Clockwork Orange with him, and on like both those films, he shot so much like stuff and like extra scenes, and she would compose for like these scenes. And like with The Shining, she said there was a lot of scenes they would compose for, and they didn't know what was going to be used, so like they thought about like suing him for not including so much of their work, but they didn't sign a contract.
Oh,
So
Wow.
like interesting enough, just I think some of the music's not on like the actual album that you can buy or something like that, but just like really I think it makes the film in a big way. Yeah, just especially some of those like those moments where it's like a zoom in into like just this you know this haunting that's happening, and then it's just like or
going crazy.
you know, when Jack comes out and like
Oh, the jump scare, yeah.
the jump scare.
Well, in the first frame, the score is playing too, and
Wah,
that's
Oh, yeah.
wah,
The beginning,
that's
yeah.
beginning.
The slow
Right.
drive through the mountains.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it just sets you into this like unease and this like you know that's about to happen, this crazy nightmare.
Yeah. My favorite part with the score in that film is when Shelley Duvall kind of goes to check up on Jack and he's gone, and she goes up to the typewriter and she sees all the, you know, whatever makes Jack a dull boy. And then exactly what you were talking about, the score just kind of jarringly just starts like kicking on all cylinders, and it kind of makes that moment just 10 times more terrifying, because you're like, oh fuck, just exactly what you're like in her shoes at that moment at the perfect time, and it's so fucking scary.
Yeah, those like the strings and like distortion sounds, and
it's like so disorienting too.
Mhm.
It's very like tonal and subtle and like
yeah, and like some just primal, a lot of it. And I think a lot of horror scores try to like emulate it in some way, but there's like I don't know how to a level of like nuance, I guess, like what you were saying, Luke, is that it can't
subtlety
necessarily,
and like simplicity too.
simplicity.
Like there's a lot of simplicity, like Halloween score, like and like the Shining opening like number that's like one sound, one like a few notes, and like that's all it is.
Yeah,
but it's
right.
really it's just really powerful. And the Jaws score is very simple too, but it's very, very powerful.
It's a good one.
There's also a classic Antonio t-shirt. You very often wear a Shining t-shirt and a brown jacket.
Well, I'm not trying to brag here, but I saw The Shining in a very cool location that I think is like a prime location to see that movie specifically. And 7 years ago, I saw it at Red Rocks,
Wow.
and when they do every year, they do Film on the Rocks, so they show a bunch of movies there during the summer, and that was like I don't know, just an insane place to see that movie because it's up in the mountains and pretty close to the Stanley Hotel where Stephen King, based The Shining off of. So yeah, it was really cool.
Oh wow.
Film on the Rocks,
Film on
2018,
the
The
Rocks.
Shining.
Yeah.
Definitely something I would go to if I lived in Colorado too.
Oh yeah.
They
it's
should have
great.
had a guy pop out at certain moments.
Oh
Yeah,
God.
there are
Oh,
always
I'm so
guys
glad they
coming.
didn't. Yeah.
We're gonna die out here.
Was there a bartender named Lloyd there serving drinks?
Oh, that would have been a nice touch. Yeah. Before they showed the movie, they showed The Shining, the Simpsons
Oh yeah.
episode.
cool.
So that was great. Yeah. But yeah, if they made it more immersive, I would have been freaked out. So I'm glad they didn't do that.
This is just the level of scare I am
Yeah.
before losing my mind.
Exactly. Before I have to leave. Yeah.
We're kind of pushing it, but it's not too bad. I can handle this.
Just the right amount. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm gonna pivot
On
to
you.
a soundtrack now.
Ooh.
And heads up, it's a Tarantino soundtrack because
Nice.
I'm sure you guys have talked about a lot of those in the past.
I don't
but
think we have actually.
Really?
But
I don't think so. Yeah.
yeah, well, it's a
never.
first then.
Not once,
Great.
no.
Sweet.
Never.
cool.
Yeah.
And it's also my personal favorite Tarantino movie. I'll go with Jackie Brown.
I gave my heart and soul to you, girl.
I think it's a score I listen to it quite a bit, but just the adaptation of like an Elmore Leonard novel, I just couldn't think of a more fitting soundtrack with, the Supremes and the Delphonics and Foxy Brown and Roy Ayers and all these iconic, soul artists. And you could just tell Tarantino was probably writing at his pool, just blasting soul music in his backyard and just getting really inspired. But like, truthfully, the music fits not only the characters, but that the city of LA is sort of that kind of like underbelly and these everyday people trying to get by. And the music just, for me, fits like thematically so well. And just, especially the opening with Across 110th Street with that just really iconic opening shot, that profile shot. It's just one of those moments in film where music and the image really just pops. And Tarantino's always been really good at that. But and also Pam Grier and Robert Forster, their love story, they kind of underlay it with the Delphonic
Soundtrack
song.
adds soul to their relationship.
It's a little spice, if you will. They played "Didn't I Blow Your Mind" this time. Like I feel like he took a page from Wong Kar-wai and Chungking Express, because if you don't remember, in that movie they play "California Dreaming" like at least 5 or 6 times, and it kind of highlights the love story in that movie, like sort of their longing and their repression for each other, and like how much they want to be together. And it kind of really puts a nice cherry on top of that. And then he does it in Jackie Brown, and I think it's beautiful and just a really killer soundtrack. A lot of great soul music.
Yeah, I feel like movies like Jackie Brown and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood and like Boogie Nights, Days of Confused, and like Licorice Pizza, they're all in that like core of like ultimate soundtrack movies where the soundtracks play that big of a part in the movie. And yeah, Jackie Brown definitely does that well. Especially since it's so chill. It's such a chill movie, and you're just watching a lot of characters chilling. Like it just works soundtrack wise.
Yeah, it's like the scene where they're just chilling at the bar, and you could just kind of see the jukebox in the background. It just, you feel like you're there, and the music kind of like helps you, puts you under that spell a little bit.
There's like detail, like you see the ash falling from the cigarette like every second, like you're just watching the cigarette ash fall as the music's going. And yeah, it's just that kind of movie. It's
I love the scene when like he gets Samuel L. Jackson puts him in the trunk, and then he goes to start the car, and it's like Strawberry Letter
Yeah.
The
23.
score. Yeah.
And he's just like
Oh my god,
adjusting
yeah.
the mirror, and like the camera's like moving. And I'm like, this is so cool. Like, and it's
Yes.
such a big build-up scene, like musical moment, and then he just drives over and kills him.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like super tense, but also the coolest thing you've ever seen.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
just love it.
Yeah, good
Cool.
movie. I listen to the soundtrack around here a lot when I drive.
All right,
Is
Luke.
it my turn?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's you.
Yeah.
What
I'll
else
make
do you
sure to-
listen to on your drives? Yeah.
This is a movie that I like. We've talked about a lot on the podcast. We've even done a revisited episode on this. Actually, maybe even our first revisited episode. And I've actually
Terminal?
talked about.
Is
Yes.
it Terminal? Sweet.
I forgot who does the score of the Terminal.
Oh,
but,
yeah, I don't
that's
remember.
got to be Williams.
Yeah, it might
you
be.
know, John,
actually.
it's. I
It
hate
might
to
be better
break it
than
to you,
I'm thinking. Yeah.
but it's not the Terminal, but it is kind of like the Terminal because it's planes, trains, and automobiles. Notice I said planes.
Now I got you now.
That's why it's
yeah.
like the Terminal. And a lot of time
Victor
spent in
Navorsky.
airports.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I brought up the soundtrack to you before, and you guys know about the soundtrack. It's very iconic, but like I've never put it on a list, so on one of these. So I thought I'd add it in, and the main reason why I wanted to add it in too is because it's one of the movie soundtracks I've actually been listening to most this year. Surprisingly, like. In November, I went to Michigan to visit family. I like spent the weekend with my cousin, and then like on the way back, I like stopped to see my grandma. So I was kind of driving from like Midland, Michigan to Lansing, Michigan. Is just like driving to small towns, and I put on this soundtrack like while I was doing that, and it just fits so perfectly the vibe because that's what they do in the film. They drive like from like Wichita to like like a train in some area of Kansas, I don't know, and then they somehow get to St. Louis after that. It's just I don't know, there's the Midwest vibe is like this soundtrack really has the goofy Midwest highway vibe, and so it's just a great driving soundtrack, and like it just because I don't know, I think I look at it differently because I have such a deep connection with this movie, but I can't get enough of this soundtrack. Like especially like the 80s like synth ones that are like especially goofy. Is that one called Back in Baby's Arms? No, it's not. I'm trying to think of what the Red River Rock by the Silicon
Red River
Twins.
Rock. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That you guys got as a great driving song, and it's also during a great beat of the movie where they get back on the road in their shitty car, like that was burned
right.
up overnight. Yeah, where they get back on the road.
Keep on rocking, keep on. Like when they're singing
Oh
it.
no, yeah, well before that, where it goes like.
Oh.
The
The song is a banger.
And the music in it, like I don't know, you just like won't find like anywhere. It's just so of its time and so of this movie that I will never listen to anything like that on my own. Like I don't know what genre it is, but like if I could find playlists of just that and it's as goofy, I would listen to that.
There is an
Red
original
River Rock Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what you need.
Yeah, Red River Rock Radio.
Isn't there that the original song when he loses the car and he walks back to the airport? There's the "You're Messing with the Wrong Guy" song.
Oh yeah.
But-
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's also like 80s, very 80s
Yeah.
techno stuff. Yeah. Like that sound of the Seinfeld synth bass, like how goofy and artificial it is. That's like the sounds they use in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It's like low grade and silly sounds, but it works in comedy especially.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, I didn't think
They made that song with with Steve Martin's like voice, and it was like, "You got the wrong guy."
they sample his.
Yeah.
I forgot about that. Yeah, that's so funny.
That's
All right, nice pick, Luke. All right, my number 4 is The Life Aquatic with Steve Zissou.
great choice.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, this was added last minute, and I was like, yeah, that is a great soundtrack. And it's also a score. But it's great for many reasons. One, there is a score by Mark Mothersbaugh from Devo. There's a few songs in there. But then there's also, I think the highlight of the soundtrack is Seu Jorge, the Brazilian musician who's singing David Bowie songs and playing them on his acoustic guitar throughout the movie. And that's just so unique and different and amazing. And it took me a second. I didn't realize this even the first time watching this movie. It took me the second time. I was like, wait, these are like David Bowie songs that he's playing. And it's so good. And there's a video on YouTube of like him playing for like 20 minutes on the ship or whatever in his Steve Zissou costume, and it's so great. And there's other great songs on it too, like there's Joan Baez, Iggy Pop, and also David Bowie too. There's a couple actual David Bowie songs in there. And it's just a great compilation of songs, and
it has the Licorice Pizza David Bowie. What's the name of the song?
Starman.
Life on Mars.
Life on Mars. Yeah.
Life on Mars. Yeah. Because
Which
I remember
I feel like
that
has
up
been
because
in
you
a-
brought up Life Aquatic.
Yeah, I feel like that David Bowie song has been in like quite a few movie trailers in the past year or two. I just
It
feel like
works. It works
hear it
well.
all the
Why not?
time.
Just keep
Yeah.
going. Should be in every movie trailer.
I love this
Yeah.
the music during those like films that they have, and it's like
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, see, it's like there's like so many different sort of like music vibes throughout it, like when they have their like films like that, and then when we get to the climactic scene where he sees the jaguar shark and the Sigur Rós song is playing over it. So yeah, it's goofy, and then it's also very like melancholic and existential, and yeah, it's a solid soundtrack. I'd say underrated just because I hadn't thought of it until today when I was looking it up more. So yeah,
That makes it underrated.
underrated in my book.
What's the song that plays when they finally find the shark at the end?
Yeah, that's Sigur Rós. I can't think of the title of the song. But yeah, that Icelandic band that it's
Such a good needle drop at that moment. It's like you feel it all in that moment. It's like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It's
Oh,
funny how
I can't pronounce it, but yeah, it's like the most popular Sigur Rós song. Sorry, Antonio.
no, it's funny how like with Portuguese singing, I just find like, I mean, I don't know Portuguese, but it's just such a beautiful language to like hear people singing in, and
Yeah.
it might almost be better than like listening to the David Bowie
Right. Yeah.
version. Like it's hard to say that, but it might.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. Yeah. And I didn't even mention that he sings them in Portuguese, not in English. And it's so good. I would honestly probably listen to those versions more than the David Bowie versions, but not that I don't also love the David Bowie versions, but yeah, that's Life Aquatic.
A little sidebar. I do love. I don't know how you guys are gonna feel about this, but when that David Bowie song plays in the Buzz Lightyear movie trailer, I kind of get chills.
I don't know if I've seen the trailer.
Oh, really?
No, I'll have to see that. Yeah.
It plays all the time. Every time I go to the movies, I see this trailer.
Dang, I haven't seen it. I will check it out though, just for that song.
Yeah, just YouTube it. You don't have to go see.
No, I'm
see,
gonna go buy a
like,
ticket
Uncharted.
tomorrow just so I can. Yeah, I'm just gonna go see
Yeah,
Uncharted.
go see Uncharted just to see the trailer.
I'll leave after I see the Buzz Lightyear trailer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now we've
Yeah, I
come
still have yet
back.
to see the film, but I like it pops up on
Hmm.
HBO Max a lot, so I will watch that eventually because you've recommended it now a couple times.
I'll
Yeah,
give you
and
the Criterion Blu-ray.
Oh yeah,
I
you
can
do
let you
own that. I
borrow
think I've
that.
seen that.
nice.
Oh,
Yeah,
It's a must. It's a
I think
must.
the
Yeah.
Criterion Blu-ray has the Say George like playing the David Bowie songs like all in a row, maybe.
mhm. Okay. So okay, my number third will be, this is round 3, right?
Yep.
Round 3.
Okay. Okay. Number third will be the Big Lebowski soundtrack.
Mhm.
Oh, cool.
I just
Very
love
nice.
that
Yeah.
movie, and like those are such great needle drop moments in that film. And yeah, it just, I don't know, it keeps the movie like going along, and it keeps each scene interesting. And I found out that all the music in it is like diegetic, so all the music is like playing somewhere in the scene, like the world of the movie. Either like
Oh,
the
I
car
think about
radio
that.
or like,
Yeah.
yeah, like even at the beginning, I think it goes from
So
that
it's
like
playing in the
tumbleweed.
bowling alley when
Hotel California.
Yeah, Hotel California, yeah. So it'll start
Totoro.
like the
Yeah.
scene, yeah, and then it'll go, and then like once they start talking, you'll notice the song's still going like over the radio
That's
or
right. Yeah.
Haven't thought about
right.
that. Wow, that's
Yeah.
cool. Yeah.
And I think my favorite moment of the film is when he's, gets knocked out and they play the Kenny Rogers song.
Mhm.
What's it called? Oh, Just Dropped In.
Yeah.
And then
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah.
and like such a unique Kenny Rogers song, but it's such an awesome moment, and like the whole dance thing, and just such a great like musical soundtrack for one of the strangest and most unique movies ever.
Yeah. Pretty much every time I see anything about the Big Lebowski, I always just hear that Bob Dylan song from the beginning.
Yeah, the man in me, and then the camera going like the
Panning
awesome
across
cinematography of the pins, and
yeah,
that I can't get enough of that.
just the watching people bowl with that Bob Dylan song playing in the background.
Watching a
Yeah,
guy
it's
like
so great.
shake his like belly
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
getting a strike.
Yeah.
Yeah, love that soundtrack.
I feel like maybe like Steve Buscemi is like my favorite part of the Big Lebowski now. If I like were to rewatch it, I just like love Steve Buscemi in that, and he's just the fact that he's just there makes it that great.
Like I am the walrus.
He's like doing what he's meant to do. He's like,
Vladimir
Good.
Lenin.
Yeah.
yeah,
Vladimir Ulyanov.
And we went bowling recently, and I just had to quote Steve Buscemi when he turns around. He's like, "Woo, I'm throwing
Yeah.
rocks tonight."
You guys are dead in
he
the
always
water.
he always turns around and has something to say.
Yeah.
it's one of
And they're
quick-
never paid attention.
never
He's
paid
like,
No, they don't
he's like,
care.
you
yeah.
guys better watch out.
I love it.
He's
in
just
that,
such a normal, nice guy to be hanging out with those two guys. It's why it's so good. It's like
Yeah.
as if like our dad was like hanging out with those guys or something. I'm throwing rocks tonight.
I'm throwing rocks tonight.
yeah, I'm gonna go with a soundtrack kind of similar to The Shining that's just very haunting and sticks with me in kind of a not a negative way, but it's extremely eerie. And the one that comes to mind for that is how do you pronounce his last name? Angelo Badalamenti, who works with David Lynch, who's pretty much done most of his most iconic films with like Mulholland Drive, The Blue Velvet, Wild at Heart. But the one I got to pick is Twin Peaks.
Angelo.
Oh.
Angelo.
So, yeah. I got to go with Fire Walk with Me, Twin Peaks. The whole movie's really about dread. It's sort of, the unknown sort of come in. Because if you've seen the show, there's something just really horrific on the horizon. And there's just this, that underlying dread throughout the entire film. And yeah, it's just an incredibly bleak, melancholic score, and really kind of pairs with Laura Palmer's psyche in a really profound way. And the scene that always sticks out to me with music is when they go to that sort of really seedy club, sort of on the night where they're on that crazy bender with Laura.
Bum, bum,
And
bum,
it kind of drowns out all of the dialogue, and it's like it drowns everything out. It's just kind of like this very cerebral experience, you know.
That's where the movie starts to really become a lot and starts to do its thing.
It sort of really just sinks deep into your skin at that point, and really it becomes an otherworldly experience, especially seeing that movie. I remember seeing it at the Music Box in Chicago, where the sound kind of is overwhelming at points, and the sound's not really balanced well. And it kind of worked in the favor of Fire Walk with Me when, there's certain nightmare she's having, and the music just, these strings and these horns are just blaring, like it's like you're in her nightmare. And and quick nod to Under the Skin, because that's another one that kind of really seeps under my skin when I watch it. It just really unsettling, I would say. And he's an incredible composer.
Yeah, I don't remember a whole lot of the soundtrack from Fire Walk with Me, but that song specifically, when they're in the club and it's like and like all the dialogue is drowned out, that is like the one that sticks out to me.
Definitely.
The Fire Walk with Me theme I used to listen to on my way to work every day. It's like the opening, theme of Fire Walk with Me is what really differentiates it to me from the previous shit from the show, and brings it back to like Lynch's like Control, and brings it to a whole nother dark level, and also just tells you that you're about to see a really tragic fucking movie. And and the score in this paved the way for how the music would evolve more in the Return series. And I think once I had this as my like number one on my list of like a score and soundtrack, because Twin Peaks is like music, is scores and soundtracks. For me, like the music from start to finish is one of the biggest things.
It's just moving, like every time you listen to it, you just can't help but feel it.
And it's always just
Definitely.
some no, like just that like simple thing that it does always just as the background, and then sometimes it turns it up a lot, like we said in Fire Walk with Me.
I like how David Lynch got to like help make that music in the pink room scene. Like he was just like knew what he wanted, what kind of sound he wanted, and just like so cool.
All right, I will do this one is a soundtrack, and it's especially relevant because today we have the New Beverly Paper Moon Crew from January, because from back in January, I think it was, or February, I don't know. But anyways, it's the Paper Moon soundtrack. Because it's really good, and Paper Moon is really one of the best movies, and it's working on all cylinders, and I thought the soundtrack was too. So I thought, why not throw it in there? It features Dean Martin. It features Dizzy Gillespie, Bing Crosby. Like it just has that classic American soundtrack, and it also is like we were saying after the movie, after we saw this, that it's like this is one of the best American movies, like especially because of the themes and the characters, and the fact that it's about drifters and the Dust Bowl. You could say it's also kind of a Western too. And so I thought, I'll throw the soundtrack in there, give it a nod. It's really good. You could definitely listen to it a lot.
Agree.
Yeah, it really transports you to that like setting.
Yeah, and then there's the Paper Moon theme.
Oh,
Like
right,
so,
yeah.
it's just like how it works for the always works for the movie. Like I love it when the song Blue Velvet comes up in Blue Velvet. John, have you seen Paper
Nice.
Moon?
I have seen Paper Moon. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wasn't a part of the Paper
Nice.
Moon crew, unfortunately.
No, yeah, I
but
know. Sorry to exclude you there,
I'd
but
love to be a part of it someday, though. Yeah.
I love Paper Moon cruise. Love to be a
I'd
part
love
of
to be a
them
part of one
someday.
someday.
Just me and my bros going to see Paper Moon every
Just
year.
the bros, Paper Moon Bros. Yeah,
Yeah, the weekend getaway.
nice.
We can get
But
Nice, that's
yeah,
cool
Paper
though. Yeah.
Moon's great. Yeah, definitely recommend listening to the soundtrack sometime too.
All right, my number 3. My final 3 are definitely more just fun ones. They're fun, you know. And yeah. So starting with my number 3, it's Hunt for the Wilder People, which is a score soundtrack by this New Zealand group Moniker, who I don't know anything about besides that they did this movie, and they haven't done very much either. But it is this great synth heavy soundtrack paired with these beautiful shots of like the New Zealand countryside. It's just so pleasant and nice, and it's also wide ranging too. You know, there's there's like nice montage music when they're just going through the forest, you know, doing their thing, and then there's this nice this song called Ocean Blue that's on the soundtrack. It's just like a perfect like travel montage song, and then you know all the other songs along with it too, just again very like synthy and dreamy, and it's nice. And then I would be remiss if I didn't also mention the non-Moniker song, which is the Ricky Baker birthday song, which is sung by Rima Te Wiata and Julian Edison the Kid. It's just so great. And Ricky Baker, happy birthday. Once, yeah, she's just playing on the little thing. Once rejected, now accepted. And she just like, is this song, she like, it sounds like she's gonna end, and then she just keeps going. It's like, by me and Hector, the trifecta. And she, yeah, it's and then Ricky Baker starts singing along too. Such a nice moment. Yeah, I really like the music in this though. And yeah, I was trying to search to see if this group Moniker had done much else, and I guess they're really just a New Zealand band that were chosen to do the soundtrack for this movie, but I think it was a great fit.
Yeah, I remember that movie felt like almost like a fairy tale, like a New Zealand fairy tale in a way, because like the landscapes especially, and the music I remember was, yeah, it was like very calming in a weird way, even though that movie's pretty tense throughout. It's like
Right.
sort of a getaway film, but yeah,
it's what I was going to use, that exact word, a getaway. So the music is key for that.
Yeah, like that scene, the Ocean Blue scene. I love that section of the film because, you know, all these parts are like plot parts are coming to a head, and like it's doing that. That's that scene, right, where it's like panning and you see all of them walking, but the music is so like pleasant, and you're just like, man, I love watching this movie. This is such a good time. Like,
yeah, I know. Yeah, it's just such a like a nice, pleasant song, and it's because it just ties into all those other heartwarming moments between the two of them too. And I could listen to that song and repeat. Ocean Blue, I would recommend checking that out. That's a good driving song too, you know, just driving through the California mountains. Yeah.
All right, so the next score that I had listed is the score to Jim Jarmusch's Dead Man. By Neil Young.
Nice.
A very unconventional score to a movie. This one's interesting because
Sorry.
Was that the score from Dead
Yeah.
Man?
I accidentally placed one of my scores on my soundtracks.
Was it a spoiler?
Ooh,
Yes, it was. But if you
Teaser.
guys can guess off
Teaser
of
for the
that, that
listeners.
is incredibly
I don't
impressive.
know. No idea.
I will
hey, maybe
be-
we'll do that next. Maybe we'll play it like for our next
That's-
score.
That's a
soundtracks
great
episode.
idea, actually, like
Yeah.
a snippet. Yeah.
Name that
Snippet.
tune. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, but so the interesting
Yeah, anyways,
thing
Dead
about
Man.
Dead Man was that Neil Young scored the movie live with his guitar in like his studio. So he played. It wasn't the finished movie. It was just like what they had cut, and he's just going around his studio like on his guitar and distorting it live and watching the movie and like playing it. So it's really cool, but it's like the perfect vibe for the movie, like in the black and white and the kind of weirdness of Jim Jarmusch. And there's like a cool bonus feature on the Criterion where you can watch a video of Neil Young just doing the score. Someone's like videotaping him doing it.
Nice.
Uh-huh.
Jamming away.
Yeah.
The supplemental features on the Jarmusch Criterions are always really
Mm-hmm.
cool.
Yeah, I love them. And just this driving guitar sound that's like through the whole movie. It's just so great.
Yeah.
And, I love listening to it, when I'm traveling places or just for like a certain mood.
Yeah, the Dead Man guitar too has a really like distinct sound, like for a
Mhm.
vintage old school guitar, and like Neil Young just has that way of playing that like I don't know, only he could have done the Dead Man score.
Yeah,
and,
right.
Definitely.
Like it's like his music stands for the same thing that Dead Man like stands for as
Mhm.
a movie.
Yeah, and you wouldn't think like an electric guitar with a Western would necessarily, outside
Right.
of,
But when it's
the
like Jim
Sergio Leone.
Jarmusch, it like makes perfect sense.
Mhm,
You're
exactly.
like, oh,
And it's so funny, like, I'll listen to the soundtrack on its own, and the soundtrack on its own it's so weird. It has like these sounds of like car engines like going by, but the movie doesn't have those sounds, just the soundtrack. And then it'll have like
Huh.
some dialogue from the film
Interesting.
come on. So like the
Yeah,
talks
yeah,
between
yeah.
and that, I just love listening to that over and over.
yeah. Five Easy Pieces has the score soundtrack at it, like where it's just like it'll be a scene and Jack Nicholson will just like
Yeah.
say something and it's cool.
That's great. Yeah. I think Tarantino does that sometimes too. Like they'll have the little skits in between.
Yeah,
some-
the Once Upon a Time one is
sure.
perfect because it has the like radio announcer, so he like
Yeah.
they
Yeah,
the
those are
edits
so
into
cool.
the album like you're listening to the radio back then.
Definitely.
KJ Los Angeles. Or
Yep.
whatever. Yeah.
98 KFG WFM, and then there's like an old ad for a Coke commercial. It's
Yeah, it's like ads
Oh,
for
yeah,
cigarettes and stuff.
yeah,
It's a
Yeah.
cool way to kind of make like, with Dead Man 2, it's like it stands on its own too, like as just a complete like work of art.
Definitely.
yeah,
Yeah.
Dead Man is fantastic.
Do you guys remember who composed Only Lovers Left Alive? Because kind of reminiscent of each other in a
I
way.
think it was
No, but I've listened to Only Lovers Left Alive a lot.
That's an incredible score too.
yeah, that one's awesome.
Well, and there's a lot of guitar in Only Lovers Left Alive,
Yeah.
but it's different. It's like more of that, like, I don't know, that grunge shit.
Yeah, it's like
kinda.
the grunge scenes with like vampires and stuff.
It's Joseph Van Wissem.
Nice.
And
I thought
s-
Jarmusch might have-
That's
Squirrel.
who it is.
Jarmusch might have composed some of them, maybe.
Mhm. Yeah, this band called
Squirrel.
Squirrel
Yeah.
seems to be
that's it.
his band.
Right.
That's cool.
Cool.
Yeah, he Squirrel also scored Patterson.
Right.
and-
Yeah.
Patterson's a
Yeah.
very distinct score because it's like I think his first one that's like totally electronic maybe because it's very electronic Patterson.
Mhm. Yeah, all of his scores, I feel like you could just put like listen in your headphones and like walk places and
Yeah.
Ghost
Because
Dog.
they're really
Yeah.
atmospheric because
Mhm.
they're just like showing people sitting there in the Jarmusch movie, or like just standing in the shot, standing in frame, and then it's just like his music and his vibe. So it's like you can bring that. You can bring that to your own life, like the Jarmusch vibe to your own life by listening to the Dead Man soundtrack or score or the Patterson score.
I love how he clearly just pulls out musicians he loves, like Neil Young and RZA, and like people that are very prevalent in the music scene at the time to sort of pull him into his world. It's kind of like a collaboration almost, you know?
Yeah. And the RZA one is like my favorite. That was on our last score and soundtrack episode was the Ghost Dog. Yeah, and like the main theme of Ghost Dog is like this trippy ass Wu-Tang beat. It's such a trippy, awesome beat that like only RZA could do.
So this is number 2, yes? This is the second to last. Okay. So I'm trying to narrow it down so I don't forget the essentials. I'm gonna go with Harold and Maude.
Don't be shy, just let your feelings roll on by. And don't.
Which is a Hal Ashby film, and kind of similar to Dead Man, actually. Cat Stevens did the whole soundtrack, all original music, all acoustic. And yeah, just a few of my favorite songs of all time are on this soundtrack. Like the intro, it's called Don't Be Shy, was sort of panning around on Bud Court, and you don't see his face, and he's leading up to like hanging himself, and it's a really dark intro, but it's a very uplifting song, and sort of that juxtaposition is so wild to me. It kind of sets the tone so perfectly. And there's, of course, like If You Want to Sing Out, Sing Out, which is I just think an incredible tune. And really the soundtrack in general just really exemplifies the 70s and like sort of 70s filmmaking, which is, it's just very daring, but also so simple at the same time, which you could also describe Harold and Maude as, because at its core, it's a love story, but there's so many just interesting and conflicting themes throughout that film. And I just love Cat Stevens. I think he's really soothing. I think he's really complex in a lot of his music. But yeah, I would say that's my second favorite soundtrack of all time / score, since it's all original music and it's all acoustic. So I think it's really unique in that way. And yeah, I love Hal Ashby too. He's like a lot of good music in his films.
Yeah, it's similar to that era of movies with their soundtracks, like how The Graduate, like for instance, plays the same song over and over
like a few
again.
Times.
Yeah.
Yep, and it's like becomes part of the movies. I don't know, like a character in the movie or a theme of the movie.
Right.
Yeah, I love that stuff. And there's other movies that do it. Plenty of others.
You don't get that too much anymore, which is kind of interesting.
No, yeah. Sadly.
Like, if it's a good enough song, it's like, yeah, I'll listen to it a few times. Like, of course.
And there's a scene where Maude she's like a musician in the movie. Like she's good at like every instrument, which is also a joke in the movie. And she plays the piano for she's kind of convincing Harold to like come into his own and sort of, not to worry so much about the future. And she sings like If You Want to Sing Out on the piano. It's just a really beautiful, tender moment, but it's also like hilarious because she's singing so aggressively and loud. It's just like it's such a great moment. And just so many great needle drops. And again, I listen to that soundtrack just outside of the movie all the time.
Yeah, this one almost made my list for tonight.
Oh, nice.
There's maybe 6 or 7. Yeah. Another good road trip soundtrack too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great shots driving around the Bay Area there.
Yeah. When they steal their car and stuff and just kind of peel away. Yeah.
That's in a way our third road trip movie because
you could say Dead Man too.
Dead Man's
okay, so 4.
And Streets of Fire is like a city road trip.
We've had 5 then, because I'm counting Paper Moon as a road trip.
That's definitely a road trip. Yeah.
My next one is a soundtrack.
Exclusively.
Yeah. And it is my I mean, I'm bragging a little bit, but I also didn't make any of these songs or compile it or have anything to do with the film, so I'm not bragging too much. But it is a great fucking soundtrack I'm bringing up right now. It is the soundtrack of The Irishman.
Time is now, bigger, more or less. We'll find happiness somehow.
Along with the Planes, Trains, and Automobiles soundtrack. While this is a weird duo, these are like the soundtracks I have listened to the most this year. Like The Irishman, I have listened to a lot. Like I shot like a wedding in November with my dad, and like after I played the Irishman soundtrack, and I still had like the wedding vibes over me. So and it worked great, like with it. There's just so many great. I mean, Marty Scorsese. I mean, obviously he knows how to pair scenes with music better than anyone, and he's like this movie's as good as anything he's ever done in my opinion, and he does the same thing with the music. I could go on and on about the needle drops. Obviously In the Still of the Night is a great like bookend song for the movie, and like all the like tragedy and existential elements that there are in The Irishman. There's that one, like that song I Hear You Knockin' by Smiley Lewis, where it's like where De Niro's like trying to first start get in with the other crowd, and he's like offering Bobby Cannavale. He's like, I deliver steak. I could deliver you steak. And he's like, could you? Could you? And it's like going like, I hear you knocking. And it's just like old school blues, and like the piano goes like do 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 do, and then he like loses the steak in the truck. There's also just like very unique like jazzy songs in here that you would never find anywhere else. Like this guy's eye for music is great, and then there's like a specific like murder scene where that happens like by a barber shop, where there's this one great song playing. Oh man. Yes, this one. Can you guys hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah, this one. It's just stuff like this.
Oh, right. Yeah. That was a really bleak sequence, I remember.
Well, yeah, like it's like, it's really uppity, and it's like in the rhythm of the movie, and then like there's this crazy, really crazy blocked out and shot like murder scene. Yeah, and then there's songs like Al Di La by Jerry Vale. It's kind of like actually a live performance. It's during the scene where Frank is getting his award as like being a like I don't know, whatever, president of the ward or head of the ward or whatever. And Jimmy Hoffa's he's like there to honor him and like speak on his behalf. And then all the mafia guys are there going like De Niro's between all the mafia guys, and Jimmy saying like, you gotta lay off there. They mean it this time. They mean it. And like the music is like orchestrated perfectly in that sequence to show the growing distrust and to really prelude to Jimmy Hoffa's demise and like what's going to happen. And yeah, just like as with like Goodfellas and shit, like, and like Departed and everything, like every scene that is shot and directed perfectly usually has a song that pairs with it perfectly. And The Irishman does it for like 3.5 hours, which is just awesome, and it makes this movie actually really rewatchable for me, even though it is so damn long. Same reason I was able to watch Get Back again. If it's got some great music in it throughout, it's pretty easy for me to sit through it.
Yeah, Marty like just fills like every frame, every second of the movie with like a song. Like that's what it's almost like hard to just like keep track of all the great songs you hear in his
that's
films,
why I just can't like bring all of them up, because there's so many that I like. All I can think of are like melodies, and I'm like, and this one, and then I hum like 5 more songs, that one, like.
And he's got a great like blues taste too. It's like very
Yeah, and especially
yeah.
this one is blues, jazz, and like doo-wop because it's very I don't know, it's just a very old school one. It's not as like there's not really any Stones in this one. Like not like, you know, I mean he's probably used every Stones song at this point.
He's used "Give Me Shelter"
yeah.
at least 3 times,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah.
gotta be.
It's really good. So, and I think it's one of his more unique ones actually. And it's like
Definitely.
Once Upon a Time to where it's like, where did this song come from? You know, like now I have all these songs that I like because of it.
Nice. Yeah, I didn't realize that he had Robbie Robertson from the band do the theme for The Irishman.
Yeah, the no,
Oh,
no,
wow.
no, no, no.
Yeah, that's-
Yep.
All right, my number 2 is very different from all 3 of your number 2s, but I'm pretty happy with this pick, and it's The Muppets from 2011.
Everything is great. Everything is grand. I got the whole wide world in the palm of my hand. Everything is perfect.
With Jason Segel.
With Jason Segel one, wow.
Yeah, and if you don't know, the songs were written by Brett McKenzie from Flight of the Conchords. So another New Zealand connection here. But and yeah, Luke, I don't know if you remember this, but me and Rick Rooney were obsessed with this movie.
I think
back
so.
in high school. Okay, yeah.
I could definitely picture that.
I didn't know if you remember.
I remember
those
being
moments.
embarrassed from that.
Well,
look
you're
at
gonna be embarrassed
Gonzo.
again. Yeah,
Kermit and
because
Jason Segel.
man, when this came out, I listened to this soundtrack a ton too, and it's just, I mean, you could put a lot of, gonna be honest, you could put a lot of Muppet movies in this list. They always have great music, but yeah, this one, I mean, if you watch Flight of the Conchords at all, I think you can hear a little bit of the Brett McKenzie taste in there. Definitely his sense of humor too, which I think meshes well with the Muppets. But yeah, there's some great songs in here, and also great, I guess, new versions of classic Muppet songs like Rainbow Connection and everything like that. So yeah, and Jason Segel and Amy Adams both great in this, along with the Muppets and Kermit and the gang. And along with that, there's also songs included here, so it's a soundtrack and a score. But they throw in Paul Simon too. Me and Julio Down by the Schoolyard fits perfectly with a Muppet movie too. Yeah, and this is just such a nice soundtrack. It's very uplifting and happy. One of the main songs is Life's a Happy Song. And then of course there's the great song Man or Muppet that Walter and his brother Jason Segel are both singing in different settings, but sort of bouncing off each other. Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I forgot about it until the past couple days when we were going to do this episode, and I'm glad I rediscovered it because it's a banger of a soundtrack, The Muppets.
Yeah,
Wow.
I think this is something I need to see since I'm such a Segel guy, especially.
Yeah, apparently he was like the big force like behind it. Like he's a huge Muppet fan. And
Oh
he-
yeah, you
I
can
believe
tell
he
he's
wanted this to
very
get
he's
made.
very Muppet influenced, just his whole style.
The end of forgetting
Sarah-
Sarah Marshall. Yeah,
Sarah
it's like-
Marshall, yeah.
It's like an audition to be in a Muppet
Yeah.
movie.
It is. It is.
Isn't like Ricky Gervais the villain in that movie?
That's in the sequel to this one,
The sequel, gotcha.
Most Wanted, which I actually have not seen, but
Ooh.
Chris Cooper I think is the villain in this one, and he has a song too. That's
No
kinda
way.
cool. Yeah.
Gotta see this.
Yeah, we humbly ask. No, that's not it. The answer is no. No. Okay. There's a few different songs. They also have like the skits in between on the soundtrack, so it's hard to tell what's the song and what's just like a little transitional sketch. But there's also Andrew Bird on here too.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Andrew Bird's great.
Yeah, Andrew Bird, the Whistling Caruso yeah, he fits well with the Muppet universe too. So yeah,
So how much is
recommend it.
like Siegel singing with the like? Is it a constant singing back and forth between him and the Muppets? Like they're on their musical dynamic, if you will.
So it's just I mean, he sings throughout it. There's songs throughout it, but the song I was mentioning was "Man or a Muppet," and that's it's a big moment in the movie when him and his brother Walter, who is a Muppet, are sort of coming to terms with themselves, and it's like, am I a man or am I a Muppet? That's the thing. And they're both going through these identity crisis right
Wow.
now. And so like Jason Segel singing his part, and then Walter sings his part, and then they sort of mesh together. But then throughout it, it's like it's mainly like the Muppets, and then Jason Segel and Amy Adams will like sing along. They'll have a verse here and there. But Jason Segel he's great in this. And then of course just the Muppets, they make some great songs. And I think I haven't seen Muppets Most Wanted, but I don't want that to ruin my opinion of this movie, because this one's great. So yeah,
Nice.
highly recommend. Number 1.
Final round.
All right, for my last film, my last pick is the Suspiria score by the band Goblin. It just really, it makes the movie. There's really not like a score like it anywhere else. Just it overtakes the entire style, like an emotion of the movie, like because the movie it doesn't make any sense, I don't think.
Yeah, if I'm being honest, I don't really remember anything about Suspiria.
Right.
About
I remember
I remember that thing playing during it. Yeah.
And it just, so I mean, it's a beautiful looking film, and like the shots are surreal, and the story is like kind of dreamy, and then the music just drives the whole thing, and you're just like, this is insane. And the most like interesting thing about it for me, and like, is Dario Argento, the director, he really didn't tell them anything about the plot, the band Goblin. And they had worked before on Deep Red, which is another great score, but he didn't tell them like what they were doing, and he just had to make the music first, and then they would play the music on set like while they filmed. So it just inspired everyone with this vibe of mystical, otherworldly, spooky sounds. And just a great, like right now I'm like writing a giallo film and gonna like hopefully make it pretty soon, but I keep playing those songs on loop just to get like that vibe going, because it's just a great score. And again, like The Shining, just, it's not as like terrifying, like there's a lot of like prog rock elements to it, but just kind of like all these different soundscapes that it produces, just, I don't know, it's awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I also I like the remake soundtrack too. I know there's a good Tom York.
The Tom York,
yeah.
That's pretty much the only thing I like about the new one, to be honest. No, I mean, it was okay. I love that score too, the Tom York. I put that on repeat too.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, nice. I'll have to revisit the original Suspiria score though. Cool. It's up to you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's number 1. So I made that face because that was actually my number 1 as well. Because everything you just said, basically, yeah. But I'll pivot. Why not?
You notice, John, he waited like till his turn. He didn't go like what we do lazily. We go, that's my number 1 too.
Yeah, that's mine too.
We'll knock him out now.
Get it out of the way.
It's the backup.
It's such an it's just arguably one of the best scores ever written. So yeah, I had a feeling someone would pick it, but yeah, I'm gonna pivot to my personal favorite composer. His name is Joe Hisaishi. He's Japanese, and he works a lot with Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli. And also Takashi Kitano. I don't know if you guys are familiar with his work. He's a really unique Japanese filmmaker. But the one I'm gonna pick is I'll go with My Neighbor Totoro. Because it's a personal pick, one of my favorite movies of all time, ever since I was a kid. And Luke, I know you just watched Nausicaa, so he's kind of fresh in your music Rolodex.
I wanted to pick a Ghibli score, but I don't know. I didn't have a specific one that stood out really.
I do remember Totoro was on my list a few scores and soundtracks episodes ago. So I'm in agreement with you here.
We got an overlap, yeah.
Yeah.
And if you've seen the film, you know exactly why. It's just that it pairs just so perfectly with the journey of the character. The landscape is like you said with Hunt for the Wilder People. It's very lush and sort of green and just calming and zen in a way. And that score is just, I use it personally a lot to calm me down, calm my nerves down. It's a very vital score in my life, and kind of also as an element of like childlike innocence, which is a huge theme in the film. It kind of brings you back to being small and having that wondrous feeling when you're exploring the world, you know. And it's just a beautiful score. I could pick literally Spirited Away. I could pick Ponyo or Wind Rises. He's just an incredible composer. But I'll go with Totoro just because it's my favorite film of his and really underlies the atmosphere of that film, and just an amazing score. And there's kind of a rarity to it because you can't stream it on YouTube or Spotify. I literally have to go to like really weird Japanese websites to listen to the score.
Wow.
The vinyl costs close to $300, and one day I'll shell out the money. But like I saw it at Amoeba. I think it was like Behind the Glass, and it was like $350. And I do want it one day, but not for that price. But
why is it so hard to find and like listen to?
Studio Ghibli, they were a private company before Disney bought them out, and they always kind of, I don't know why Miyazaki especially always refused to just give them physical copies of the music, because I think they're just extremely proud of it and want to keep it in like the Japanese archives so they don't completely sell out to like Disney, I guess. But God damn, I want it. Just put it somewhere.
Just put it on Spotify already, so it's not special anymore.
So many artists have done like remixes and stuff on Spotify, so you can kind of get the
put it on Kanye's Stem 2 player or whatever it is.
Jake, have you heard Kikujiro or seen that film with Takeshi Miike?
I have not.
This guy, the same composer, and like it's just the theme for that movie is just like so wonderful, and it also makes you cry. It just that same kind of feeling that you're talking about with My Neighbor Totoro.
That's the one with the it's like the guy with the Hawaiian shirt with the kid.
Yeah, he's like helping the kid get somewhere or something. But yeah,
nice. Yeah, he's just an incredible composer, and like him and Miyazaki, it's kind of like that John Williams, Spielberg, and you know, all those collaborations that just pair so perfectly and last their entire careers, and it's just so they couldn't exist without each other, in my opinion.
Solid, great score. This is one. Sometimes I've just played. I've just been on HBO Max and played a little bit of My Neighbor Totoro just to hear some of the music. Just that
same.
Totoro.
Oh yeah, I didn't even mention the prelude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So good. All right.
Okay. My number one is the only score on this list. Saved it for last, and it is the score of Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
Awesome.
In my dreams, you're blowing me some kisses.
Walk hard, hard. Yeah, I watched it on Saturday with Jake actually, and I mean, that movie's so great, like just because not only is it funny, but it's like the music that was made for it is also really well done. And John C. Riley is really just, he does like multiple genres and they're all kind of in his voice.
Yeah.
And, like he doesn't really switch it up that much at all. His singing abilities works with all these different genres, like as the movie kind of spoofs the I don't know, the various big musical movements from like maybe the 50s through 80s, I would say, or something like that. And so there you get all this variety through that. You get like country, you get like 50s pop and doo-wop, you get like he does the Bob Dylan like song at one point where he's like trying to sound exactly like Bob Dylan. You get rock, a lot of like, I mean, it's a little like Johnny Cash, like I'd say a lot of the times. Specifically the duet with Jenna Fisher, which is like one of the funniest things. Yeah, let's duet. And it's like, I wanna kiss you when I'm sleeping. It's like lines like that.
It's like, I want to beat off all my demons.
Yeah. Like it's like a pause. Like, I want to beat off all my demons. Yeah, and then there's like this moment towards the end where they're honoring Dewey Cox, and it's this band playing the song Walk Hard, and it's like it's like three people singing in a trio, and it's like two guys going like, walk hard, and then there's a pause, and then the girl's like hard. And that's what she does. So it's like the music's not only good, it's really funny. And I think Dewey Cox's Walk Hard is just such a gem of a movie. And for a Judd Apatow movie to make its own music and the music be that good, like it's not only making fun of music, but it's like really being true to what it is. And like for something that you could just, it really turns up the movie a lot on the fact that it's just been funny that you're just watching all these great musical performances. There's a song where he's like filling in for
Craig.
Yeah, for Craig Robinson. And this, I've got the Irishman soundtrack pulled up. It's called, what is it called? Oh, you gotta love your Negro man.
Negro man.
Because he's told to do the show just like the way that Craig Robinson would be doing it. And so he kind of starts off talking like a black guy, and then he goes like straight into hard blues, and he's like, you gotta love your Negro man. And everyone just starts like dancing erotically to it because that's what they do at the club. This movie had to be brought up for a Scores and Soundtrack episode eventually. It's a damn good one, and John C. Riley has a really good singing voice too. And it almost feels like in Boogie Nights like a continuation. Say if like Mark, because Mark Wahlberg and John C. Riley in that movie are like starting a band at one point, as if like they just rolled with John C. Riley doing that and like him being his own thing.
My favorite song in that movie is when it's like, I'm guilty as charged. When it's like the montage of his drug addiction.
Guilty as charged. Yeah.
He's just like delving deep into drug addiction and like alcoholism. Right, he's like, this is such a dark period.
Yeah, this is a dark period.
It's just so catchy and like, it's like a genuinely great song. And Walk Hard got nominated for a Grammy too, by the way. The song Walk Hard. Wow. So Judd Apatow and John C. Riley are Grammy nominated officially, which is pretty wild.
There's also a scene, since we're like, there's been some Beatles talk around these parts lately. There's a scene where it's like Jack Black, Justin Long, Paul Rudd, and
Jason Schwartzman
all pretending to be the Beatles at the Maharishi when they go see the Maharishi, and they do the most like laughable impressions. It's just so great. Like Paul Rudd's like Lennon voice is just
so good.
Too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I hate saying it, but I have neglected Walk Hard. I have not seen it.
Wow.
It's a
But,
really short movie,
It's a
actually.
90-minute one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you should definitely watch it.
I'll probably
And
watch
there's
it
like
this week.
8 musical numbers, all of different genres, and
It
there's
spans
so
like
much that happens.
60 years in 90 minutes. It's pretty nuts.
Dang.
I will
Yeah.
say it's like ruined most other biopic movies though, because it's just like spoofing all of that kind of stuff.
I
And
know.
you know, it's a good movie on its own. So you just go, well, this is just reminding me of Walk Hard. Like,
I remember Bohemian
Walk
Rhapsody
Hard.
came out, and a lot of critics were like, "I've already seen Walk Hard. Fuck this movie,"
Oh.
because it's like it hits every beat of Walk Hard. It's just less interesting.
believe it.
All right. Well, we've had all this build up, and my number one is gonna sound so stupid compared to what you guys said, but yeah, I'm happy with it. My number one is 2009's "I Love You, Man."
Why don't we step outside and change our view?
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
Nice.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, Spoon. Yeah,
Oh, nice.
such
Yeah,
a great
that song is
mix
also
of
used.
early 2000s like alternative rock. Yeah,
Yeah, that
It's
song is
so
also used
funny.
a lot in Horrible Bosses, as everyone's like, I hate my boss. He makes us work. And like it's like
Dude, it was so funny. I was walking today and I saw these two like older guys like, all right, love you, man. See you, man. And they hugged each other. And then the guy's
Right.
walking away and the guy goes, remember, man, listen to that song by Spoon. And the guy goes, oh yeah, what was it? And he said, Underdog. And I almost was like,
That's crazy.
I almost was like, hey, that's a good song. But I was like, oh, he'll figure it out.
And it's two men
That's so funny.
like two
Yeah, they were
seem
like
they're
hugging each
friends.
Love you, man.
Yeah, love you guys.
that's so funny. Oh man, yeah, I feel like that song is definitely in a lot of early 2000s
Like comedies
comedies
from that era. Where
Yeah,
da,
yeah.
da, 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 like just even for like one like transition scene, or, like some
Exactly,
montage
yeah.
in a comedy.
Yeah, there's that. There's Beck, the Black Keys, Vampire Weekend. Yeah, it's just great early 2000s alternative rock. And then there's also some random songs never even heard of before. Do you remember the Water Slide song? I can't remember what
No,
what scene
I
it's
don't.
in, but it's just like water slide. Like it's
I
such
don't
a
remember
weird
that,
song.
and I know this
and-
movie pretty well. I feel.
Yeah, it's a weird one, and I went to the band who did it. And they're called the Bone Daddies, and they have like 15,000, 8,000 listens on all their songs, but then Water Slide from "I Love You, Man" has over 1 million. So I'm
Damn.
guessing it's just from this soundtrack. But
Yeah, not to mention all the Rush.
Yeah, the I
stuff.
freaking
Yeah.
love Rush, and like they
Yeah.
play Limelight and Tom Sawyer. Like those
Yeah.
those songs don't get enough love, and it's like this movie's
Yeah.
like the movie for Rush. You know,
Yeah,
yeah,
it
they even
is.
go to the
And
Rush
they
concert.
They
Yeah.
filmed during a
Yeah.
Rush concert, and
Yeah.
I forget what
Tons of
Do I-
guys were
does anyone
licking each
remember what
other's
venue
faces
it
or something
is?
like that.
Right. Does anyone remember what venue it is that they go to?
oh,
Don't recall.
I was just
No, I
saying this
don't.
because I remember thinking that like I had been there with Antonio once or something, because like when I watched "I Love You, Man" last, but it's not worth it. But yeah, this movie is very much about music, considering it's mostly like it's a comedy with a lot of like montages of like, all right, we're gonna find you some friends, and then it's like "Do-do-do-do-do."
Yeah, it's I just feel like it takes me back to this era of like what, like early high school or something for us. And I just felt like I needed to put it at my number one because this movie always it's definitely a comfort movie for me, and the soundtrack is a part of the reason too. Yeah.
Yeah, this movie is really unlike anything.
Mhm.
like actually.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's definitely one of my favorite comedies from this time too. And
Definitely.
it's another Jason Segel one. I didn't even put
Yeah, you
that
got
together.
Yeah.
Two seagulls in here. Yeah,
Yeah,
got a flock
I
of
was
seagulls
in
in here.
Venice Beach on Friday, and I was like, so this is where what's his name?
Oh, Lou Ferrigno.
Well, yeah, the
Oh,
him,
yeah.
but also
Fuck you.
like this is
Ferrigno.
where
Sydney-
Stacy lives. Sydney
There's like
Pfeiffer.
Sydney Fife.
Sydney
Oh.
Fife.
Sydney Fife lives, yeah.
Yeah.
Because he's like, you too, Sydney.
You too, Sydney. Yeah. I will see you there or see you on another time.
I said that to like one of my bosses at Binny's, and I said it in kind of like the way Paul Rudd does it, awkwardly. And I think it just came off as like, he didn't get the movie reference. It just came off as like I was that awkward guy.
Exactly in the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
He call like Jason Segel is like, see you later, Joven. Or
Oh
something.
yeah.
Later,
And he
Joe.
gives it
Yeah.
later.
Joven.
I just called you Joven.
Yeah, why did you? I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, I had a moment like that recently too, Luke, where I was talking to someone and they apparently hadn't seen The Office, and I used the how the turntables line.
and they're like, John, do you have brain damage?
Yeah.
I didn't know
Just-
them. I didn't know them very well, so I don't think they even caught that I wasn't being serious too. So yeah, it was a little awkward.
John had a
Now
stroke tonight.
That John
They probably
guy's a
told that
weird
story
guy,
to
huh?
other people they knew. Yeah, like, this guy said turntables.
You're
Oh
like,
my God.
that, John, I would not trust him driving me in a car.
Yeah. Yeah. I wonder what their opinion of me is now. But yeah.
But yeah, that's a thing that happens. And like
Mhm.
like I don't know, like I just feel like I'll see you there, I'll see you another time is such a universal thing that's you can say easily, but maybe not. I don't know. It depends.
Yeah. There's just so many great quotes from Paul Rudd in here from just not knowing what to say in social situations. It's pretty great.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
All right, well that about does it.
that about does it. We have concluded yet another scores and soundtracks list. Some scores, some soundtracks, some both. Yeah. Thanks for joining, Antonio.
Yeah, thank
And
you.
Jake.
Oh
For
yeah, it's a
coming.
pleasure.
Thank you for going on this journey with us.
Yes.
Yeah, I loved hearing all your guys' choices. It was, things from everywhere, every side of cinema. So
Yeah, we had good variety. Yeah. I've got definitely got some movies to add to my list and some soundtracks to revisit. So cool.